JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. So, hey, thanks for coming on over. Welcome to my office. And why don't you and I have a little discussion? What are we going to talk about? So, come on in. You may have been here before, but it's late. It's tax season. And thought we might just have a little chat. This is, you may have seen it before, but this is my kind of original social media room. Here is our motivational post. This right here is actually the original cover of Cracking the CPA Code. The only reason we ended up changing it up is that on here it's words, and Amanda was able to find where the cover could be numbers. And this is my old sign here. So the building I was at before here was brick and like oak wood walls, like dark exposed brick, concrete stained floors. Anyways, I love that place, but this was a kind of old school look like that. This is a picture of the sign that used to be on the side of my building. All right, well, so what are we going to talk about? This is going to be a new series. Amanda and I are trying to think through maybe having some various weekly series, and Card Shop Reality, thank you, had watched a bonus video in one of the videos I did last week. And it was, what do you want to talk about? And I was smoking a cigar and I was in the back. So you're right here. I don't know if you noticed, but I pulled up a chair for you right there. So what do you want to talk about? So tell me in the comments, and if you're watching live during the premiere, tell me in the comments, what do you want to talk about? And then maybe I'll pick a subject or two. And then on a weekly basis, I don't know if it'll be our Thursday premiere, but on a weekly basis, we're going to try and find a routine time that I'll release a video that is this. Also, we're going to put together a weekly series that's called Common Mistakes Businesses Make, that I've seen in 27 years. And then having something, and this will be a challenge if you watch any of my videos, which most of you that are watching this premiere, you've seen every one of them, and I appreciate it and I love you for it. But a third weekly series that will be 5 tips or 5 issues in 5 minutes. What? So 1 tip, 1 issue, 1 minute. Yep, I'm up for the challenge. You know what I wanted to share with you is tonight is a little bit more about my grandfather, Omar Abbott Slayter, CPA. And I was struck today. I'm going through my cabinets, and I was just looking for stuff to give away, actually, to y'all. I was looking for some golf tees, which we're going to add to the giveaways for the book promotion, Cracking the CPA Code. And I came across these tees that were the first tees that I ever bought when I started my practice. So I started my practice in May 15th, 1997. And when I was deciding what I wanted to do for my career, I knew I wanted to have a life like my grandfather's. And I talked about this in my live. Brian asked me a question, CSR did too, about, when did I become a CPA? Why did I become a CPA? I won't repeat that story. It was a live on August 31st that I talked about that. About halfway through, so talking about my grandfather and all that good stuff and becoming Joshua Jensen. But I wanted to share with you this little story, and in fact, it inspired me to give one of these away to 14 of my original clients. So I have a lot of clients that I've worked with for over 20 years. Most of the clients on my list right now are clients I've worked with at least 5 years, but I don't know, 90% of the clients I have on my list I've worked with at least 10 years, and by design. And I came across these tees, and I wanted to show them to you. So these golf tees, which doesn't sound very significant until you hear the story, but I'm getting ready right here on my, getting ready to send these tees to my clients, and I thought I would share the story with you. And usually with my premieres, it's really just our wonderful YouTube family that tunes in. So I know you'd probably be interested. So here is a tee. Gotta put my readers on. And it's a little tee right here, a little golf tee. And it was the first one that I bought, Joshua Jensen CPA, and that was my phone number when I first started. It was only my phone number through February of 2018 because it was my cell number. And in 1997, you paid still, for minutes. No one really texted. I don't even know if we were texting then. And I remember during the first tax season, my monthly bill on my cell phone, because you have to talk to people, it was the only number I had, it just killed me, because I remember it was right over $400. So I was like, well, I need to get a landline. So I got a landline, February of 1997, 405-715, and the same number that I still have now. But I came across these tees, and there's definitely a story that goes along with it. And I'm sending these out to 14 of my clients. And so I put together this letter that I'm mailing out. By the time that this airs, I would have already mailed it out because I'm mailing them out Thursday morning. So it's just going to go to 14 of my clients. So I typed it up because I can't handwrite this whole thing to each and every one of them. This may be corny to some, but I know it wouldn't be for a few of my clients, you being one of them. I was going through a box of things that used to be in my office back when I always had a shelf full of knickknacks, and came across these white golf tees. I bought these golf tees in 1997 when I opened my practice. Back then, I was so excited to find this company on the internet, which was still brand new, of course, that made these golf tees. I bought them right before I opened my practice on May 15th, 1997, which is significant because of the following story. My granddad, which no doubt you know by now, Omar Abbott Slayter, CPA, was a golfer and a member at a country club. I got to golf with him once at it, Westlake Country Club, right after my freshman year in college. I remember it well. You know, my background growing up, so you can imagine I felt like I stepped into another world filled with all things oak, cigars, gold, expensive drinks, and wealth. I was so excited to see what I hoped my life would be full of one day. My granddad seemed to know everyone there, and they all were so happy to see him. It was like watching a movie star. When we went out on the first tee box, I felt like I was in heaven, in that this was the life. It was my turn to hit the ball off the tee. I got up there, put my tee in the ground, which, by the way, was a tee from the country club with its logo on it, and also was a free tee. I placed my ball on the tee and proceeded to totally duff it, as well as the second and third one, which at that point my granddad said with a smile, "No worries, just drop your ball with mine." As I was walking off the tee box, my granddad said very seriously, "Aren't you forgetting something?" I had no idea what he was talking about, so of course I asked what it was. He said, "You forgot to pick up your tee." I ran back to where I had duffed 3 balls and picked up my tee. I got to the tee box on the second hole, put my tee in the ground, placed the ball on it, and hit a great shot down the fairway. Phew, I thought. As I got to the golf cart, my granddad said, "Did you forget something?" Of course, now I knew what he meant. I immediately ran back to the tee box and picked up my tee. We finished the second hole and was greeted by a cart person who had a golf cart full of drinks and snacks. I couldn't believe what I was experiencing. How grand. With my fresh drink in hand and a mouthful of snack, I realized I needed to now hit off the third tee box. You guessed it, I got up there, planted my tee in the ground, placed my ball on top, and proceeded to hit another good shot. I was so relieved. Heading back to the golf cart to have a drink of the best Coke I had ever had in my life, my grandfather said, "Did you forget something?" At this point, we both were laughing about it. As I get back in the cart, he said, "Rich man, are you?" Those words, just like that. "Rich man, are you?" He proceeded to tell me when he first started golfing, he was out with his dad, so that would be my great-grandfather, of course, and they each only had 1 tee between the two of them. He grew up on a farm in Nebraska and was what many call dirt poor. He further shared that they got paired up with a couple of bankers from town, and he noticed the entire round they never picked up their tees after hitting their golf ball from the tee box. He thought to himself, he told me, that he wanted to one day be rich enough to never have to pick up his tee again when golfing. However, as he got out on his own and became a CPA, he could never leave a tee behind, remembering his upbringing and how the 1 tee he and his dad shared was like a treasure to them. My granddad said that he never left a tee behind, ever. Unless it was broken, of course. So, being a young man in college, all I heard was, a rich man can leave their tee behind. Fast forward to early 1997, when I was getting confident I was going to be opening my CPA practice, and what I shared earlier, that I was so excited to buy these white golf tees that had my name on them, no less, and I couldn't wait to send some to my grandfather. And I tell you this, Having now bought my own tees back then, I was sure at the time I would never, ever leave a tee behind, following in my granddad's footsteps, like so many things in my life. Nine days after opening my CPA practice, my granddad passed away. I flew out to California, and as the oldest grandchild, I was able to be one of three to give a eulogy at his funeral. It was such an honor. The day before I did, I got to go to his CPA office, and I was so taken aback to see my business card of my new CPA practice on his desk next to his business card in his stand. However, I was even more blown away when I was able to inherit his golf bag. When I got back to Oklahoma with it, I was going through his golf bag, and I came across the bag of tees I sent him. Those white tees from this batch of tees I bought that I am giving you one today. Ever since that day, I actually never, ever, ever pick up my tee after hitting it off the tee box. Never. I do this in honor of my granddad, always leaving a tee behind for him. In the 23 years of owning my CPA practice, I have always left my tee behind for Omar Abbott Slayter, CPA, my granddad. And no lie, every single solitary time, I leave that tee behind all 18 holes of every round, but every time I do it, I think of my granddad and I hear him say, "Rich man, are you?" And honestly, leaving that tee behind always made me feel like a rich man, even when I started my practice and was far from having anything. The reason I wanted to share this with you is that you sincerely have been a part of my journey of following in my granddad's footsteps. I am sure you have heard at least one story about Omar Abbott Slayter, CPA, by now, and I wanted to share one of these teas with you, as you have truly helped me be where I am today. I only have 17 left, and after sharing this with you, I will only have 3. One for me, Cooper, and Chloe. As much as my granddad has shaped my life, you have too, by being such a wonderful client, but even better, a lifelong friend. Thank you for everything. And then I have a little handwritten note, of course, that'll go in to each one of those. But, such a small thing, little tea. And, every time I play golf with everybody, there's got to be clients that have heard it, 100 times, literally. But sometime through the round, I always tell that story. And in fact, I was telling Cooper that story just a couple of weeks ago when we were out playing some golf. And the tees that I have now are long tees. And I actually have gotten to be known, because following in my grandfather's footsteps, which I never thought would happen in my wildest dreams, that I'm a member at a country club here in Oklahoma City, Gaillardia Country Club. And so I've got these tees now, and at my club and with my clients, it's like a known thing that I leave my teas behind. And I tell them the story of, well, my granddad, when I left my teas behind, he was like, "Rich man, are you?" And so every time I hit that ball and I leave it behind, well, I feel like a rich man, and I think of my grandfather. But I never really talk about the rest of the story. But now, since I leave the teas behind, let's see if you can, get some light on this. Probably can tell. But anyways, since I leave the tea behind in the ground, my teas say "thee." And the last time I got a bunch of teas here, and it says on the side, Joshua Jensen, CPA, PC. Right, got my phone number on there just like originally. Got this color here, maroon, OU, Sooners. But I have in the cup, as they say, "thee." So when someone comes to a tea box and they look down, they're like, "Oh, what is that?" Because it's red and something in the ground. Clearly it's a tea, right? We're on a tea box. And they'll pull it up because it says "thee." JJ the CPA. So I know my grandfather would love it that, in essence, I've turned that story, that legacy, that experience into something that I'm known for, not only with my clients, but those at the club. And obviously know I'm JJ the CPA. Everybody gets a kick out of that. So, my grandfather, he started his practice in Sidney, Nebraska. He grew up in Sidney, Nebraska area, out on a farm, as I had indicated in the letter there. And he was in the Army, and he had flat feet, so he wasn't able to go into combat. So he was overseas, and not very glorious, but he was in the post office. And at the post office was the IRS forms to prepare your tax return. And I think even to this day, I don't go to the post office anymore, but that's where you would go to get your free tax forms, your Form 1040, up until recent times, and maybe still. But anyways, people would come in and want the tax form, and then invariably they'd be like, "Omar, how do I do this and how do I do that?" So he started to prepare people's tax returns while in the post office, and probably charged a quarter. So anyways, he was in the military straight out of high school. And so then when he was done in the military, he went and got his associate's degree and took the CPA exam. And back when he took the CPA exam, you didn't have to have 4 years of experience or work underneath a CPA, or 4 years college. So he passed the CPA exam, became a CPA in Nebraska, and started his practice. And a little bit of Paul Harvey, the rest of the story, those bankers that he was paired up with when he was playing with his dad one time when they were sharing a tea, those bankers, I'm assuming the only bank in town, but those bankers knew Omar, my granddad, and allowed him to have an office upstairs at their bank. Banks would own the building, occupy the first floor, rent office space above. So he started his practice in Sidney, Nebraska, and story has it that due to the heat and humidity, my grandmother, Vera, who grew up in Valentine, Nebraska, they were ready to make a change, and she wanted to go out west. So they moved to California, and then that's where he became a CPA. Obviously, you have to get licensed in each state, so he became a CPA in California. And that same banker wrote him a letter of credit, as they called it back in the day, which was to allow my grandfather to office at another bank in California in a similar way. So, not sure if that banker in Nebraska knew a banker in California, but nonetheless, that story about the T, the story about his experience and what he was thinking while playing that round and with those bankers, and then those bankers giving him a letter of credit so that he could establish a practice in California. And he ended up buying a CPA practice, a very small practice, and he's not sure really what the deal was, but when he was heading out there, somehow he got some information that there was a CPA that was needing to sell their practice in a hurry, and literally sold everything: calculator, files, filing cabinet, everything. And then of course a client list. So when he went out to California, he was able to have somewhat of a practice, minute one. And in fact, I have his original CPA certificate when he passed away. When I was at his CPA office, I was able to get it. But here was his business card. Right. SOS Omar. It's like a JJ the CPA. SOS Omar for tax help. Dial SOS Omar. Omar A. Slayter, CPA. Omar A. Slayter, Accountancy Corp. But then I also have his certificate. So I made this is on a canvas, but that's his certificate there when he went to California. So my book, my first book, I dedicated to my granddad, and my second book, Cracking the CPA Code, I've dedicated to my granddad. And then y'all haven't heard it yet, but I got another song coming out talking about a group I'm in, a business group, JX4. And at the end, I had Masterminds 2009 say, in honor of the great Omar Abbott Slayter, CPA. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. Just speaking about what's kind of come to mind. Figured you'd enjoy the story. Appreciate everybody listening and staying on. And thanks for all the support. Clearly, if you've made it to here, you're a subscriber. If you're not, I'd love it if you would subscribe. Clearly, if you've made it to here, you most likely have already bought my book, which I really appreciate. If you haven't bought it, we're doing a book launch party September 4th live. I guess if this is premiering on a Thursday the 3rd, it would be tomorrow if you're watching it on the premiere. But nonetheless, got a little contest going. I'm sure you already know. $1,000 is a drawing on September 11th on my live show, 4 p.m. Central, daylight time between 4 and 5. I'll draw a name out of the hat. And how do you get your name in the hat? 4 ways. 1, you buy the book, send me the receipt, name's in the hat. Second, you can take a picture with the book, send it to us, name in the hat. You can shoot a video of you talking about the book or showing the book or something, send it to us, name in the hat. Write a review on Amazon, name in the hat. So 4 ways. Three of those ways actually don't require any purchase. All right, so What do you want to talk about? I hope you have a great night. Have a great day. I really appreciate you. I really do. All right, hey, don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. Have a great one.